and welcome to today's video. Today we will be reviewing and discussing Pocahontas.
Two ways to look at Pocahontas. First way to look at it is as an adult, and as an adult you're looking at it as an historical piece of cinema. So,
Yeah.
I'll leave you to talk about the history.
So, yes, obviously Pocahontas was a real person. There are huge differences, obviously, though, between the Disney film and the real life story of Pocahontas. So, in real life, she was 10, between 10 and 12. In the Disney film, she's obviously, I think she's 17. There was no romance between her and John Smith. It was pretty grim, as I'm sure we're all aware. But Disney romanticized it because it's a Disney film, and I don't think they would have got away with making the truth. So yeah, she is a real person. This is based on a true story. I think this is probably the only Disney that's based on a true story.
Yeah, loosely based again. This, well, I don't know if they're in the middle of like a shootout, but Pocahontas did save John Smith from her father.
Yeah.
And I think so that bit's true.
Certain elements of it are true. Other elements of it are very, very heavily Disneyfied.
Bearing in mind that the true account was found from John Smith's diary, so it's the story through John Smith through Disney.
Yeah. The sequel, which is a terrible, terrible film, is probably more historically accurate. Again, she's younger, but it's about her coming to England, which she did, and there's actually a statue of her, I believe, in London, and she changed her name to Rebecca in the end to fit in more, and ended up marrying John Ralph, which is shown in the sequel. Not her changing her name to Rebecca, but yeah.
Yeah, so as an historical piece of cinema, it's a little bit, obviously there's a lot of, I don't know.
I think it's really important.
Yeah.
As a historical piece of cinema, and just kind of the message that Disney portray behind it, whether or not that is entirely accurate.
Do you get the sense that Disney was starting to get very good again, and they released a handful of incredible films, and then they felt that they had to be a bit historical and a bit
Probably
preachy at this point in time?
It's an odd choice because it's a time in history that people don't like to remember, especially white people, because it paints out white people to be the bad guys, which I would like to clarify, we were. We definitely were. We went and we wiped out pretty much a whole civilization in the name of colonization and for the empire. Like, we don't learn about this in school because this generation is especially ashamed of that. We don't see it as a source of pride anymore. Also, in America, they are not promoting what they did to the Native Americans. They're not promoting colonization.
I think that's why the villain character in this,
Ratcliffe, yeah.
He's important because he's almost like manipulating the British troops to do all these bad things, and they don't quite understand it, but like the hierarchy's there, like kind of deeming them savages, and I think that's kind of how you get by portraying them in that light.
Well, yeah, it's very much Radcliffe wants gold. Radcliffe is telling everyone there is gold there. The actual truth, there isn't any gold, but he is like so convinced that Pocahontas' tribe are hiding it, and he just kind of starts an all-out like war with them.
Yeah. So as an adult, I don't know, it's interesting. I guess it's interesting, but it's also quite false and maybe feels a bit hypocritical. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's talk about the character of Pocahontas.
Yeah.
I like her as a Disney princess.
Yeah.
I like her as a female character. She's a strong woman. Like, yes, arguably she is motivated by love, but let's not forget that love, in terms of the Disney film, saves countless lives.
She stays behind. I don't even know if it's so much, I guess it is love because there's loads of mumbo jumbo magic around him, but like it's more, there's a stranger, everyone wants to hate him, but I know that he seems a nice bloke. It helps he's attractive.
Yeah.
And then kind of she doesn't really get a chance to know if she's in love or not, other than asking a tree, which is not really a good.
But all she
relationship
knows,
advice.
basically, she doesn't want to do what's expected of her. She doesn't want to marry Kocoum. She doesn't just want to basically do what every other woman in her tribe is doing. She wants adventure. She wants to be different. And John Smith is her access to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Pocahontas is a good character. Good one for the princess. I've talked about how Pocahontas comes across for adults. How do you think Pocahontas comes across for kids?
I liked it as a kid because I liked her. I also liked, I still do like the song from Governor Radcliffe.
Which one? There's two.
Mine, the one where they talk about the gold.
Yeah, there's like the one where he talks about the gold, and then there's the savages.
Yeah, which I will talk about
In a minute.
It's so important. I liked Pocahontas as a kid. I think it helps that you've got Miko the raccoon and Flip the hummingbird. Like Miko, and Percy the pug as well. Like it's got a great animal sidekick characters. Like Miko is so cute. He is a chubby little raccoon that is motivated by food and decides to trust John Smith because John Smith gives him a biscuit and then basically spends the whole film breaking into the British's camp and stealing their food.
Yeah, so savages.
So this is like beautiful in terms of cinematography and animation, and it's just so important when you watch it back as an adult like we did this week. And you've basically got the British people saying that the Native Americans are savages and they just want to kill them, and they are hoarding gold, and they've captured John Smith with the intent of killing him, and they're going to kill all of them. And the Native Americans are singing the exact same thing about the British.
Yeah.
And it is the exact same words that they use to describe each other. And it's just so powerful.
It's quite a clever song.
Yeah, and the cinematography is great as well. Like when they're going to war and you've got the smoke that shows their outlines of them getting ready to fight, and it meets in the middle, and there's a thunderclap, and then...
And it's edited so you can't tell who's who a lot of the time.
Yeah, and you've got like the Pocahontas running across the stepping stones, haven't you? And like the... waterfall like paints out the Radcliffe and his men going to attack, and then it like cuts over with Pocahontas' face like running as they're all like preparing to attack each other.
Yeah, it does a lot of things right.
It's great.
Overall though, Pocahontas is one of the most boring Disneys. It is unbelievably dull. Like, I think they were focused so much on like the historical and like the moral telling that it kind of... I've seen it like quite a few times and I instantly forget it. I think you're right, it does have a... Like me, I like the raccoon.
And the tree, you've got Grandmother Willow.
Yeah, and the pugs are right, but on the whole...
It doesn't feel Disney, does it, on the whole?
The song's a massive swing and miss for me. I like Savages, that's about it. I think the other ones...
I like Colours of the Wind, I like Just Around the River Bend. I like her songs, mainly because they're in my vocal range.
They're not catchy, they're...
No, it's...
It's almost like Disney were afraid of being too fun for this one. And like...
Yeah, there's not... Well, there is a romantic duet. There is If I Never Knew You, which... never actually is sang in the film. It's played over the end credits, which is like their love song, I guess. It's got 2 solos by Pocahontas. It's got Drums of War. It's got mine. And there's not really that much more songs. And I would argue that only Drums of War and Radcliffe's song are used for plot framing devices.
Yeah, the human characters a bit... The villain's okay, not one of the better villains, but I think he's quite strong for what the story needs him to be. I think everyone else, though, is almost like because they're true people, it's scared to make too much of the character of anything.
Wiggins, though, who definitely wasn't a true person. I love Wiggins.
He's quite fun, quite restrained, though. Again, like Disney were afraid to make it too fun. Mel Gibson's John Smith is just kind of like a nice bloke. Like, they don't want to make too much of it. He's just charming enough to make the story work.
Yeah, he's a pretty bland... character. Probably the one with the most characterization out of the British guys is Christian Bale as Thomas.
Yeah, again though, like there's not enough. Like I feel like his bit should have been more powerful, but it's not. Billy Connolly's in it, and they don't let him do
They don't
anything.
even have a name.
Yeah, like if you're here for Billy Connolly, I'm sorry, you're gonna be disappointed.
And it's like Kocoum, who's like the other love interest, does nothing. Her best friend Nakoma, I remember her being a much bigger character than she was.
Yeah, I think
Like she doesn't even fulfill like the typical like best friend role. Like she does nothing.
I think if they were a little less serious, like let's jump to Moana for a minute. If like you have fun, then they're more memorable. Pocahontas is so serious that it doesn't stick in the mind. And like other than a raccoon that eats too much, there isn't really a lot here that I'm particularly fond of.
No, she's also a pretty underused character as well. Like she doesn't come out in the parks that much. Like she had the show in the Animal Kingdom, and she did have a show briefly in Disneyland Paris, like her own little meet and greet area in Frontierland, but she doesn't do that much. And like John Smith is hardly
It's because
ever seen either. Like in all like the parades and stuff, there's never like, well, very rarely is there Pocahontas and John Smith.
it's because it's real. Could you imagine the real life Pocahontas realizing that she would end up becoming a Disney attraction?
Well, they must have relatives. Like you must be able to trace back. Like if Pocahontas and John Rolfe had children, or if John Smith had any, like there must be living descendants of these people today.
That are rich.
Probably not.
Well, they got all the gold.
Yeah.
There we go, Ratcliffe. That's what you should have done. Sold your
rights to a film. Fun fact.
Yeah, go for it.
So, John Candy of Rescuers Down Under fame was going to be another sidekick for Pocahontas in this movie called Red Feather, who was going to be a turkey, and he was going to provide some arguably much needed comic relief. But he got cut from the film because they realised that they didn't want comic relief because of the serious subject nature of the film. It was also released to mark the 400th anniversary of Pocahontas' birth, give or take. It was released in 1995. People say that Pocahontas was born in 1595. No one really knows though.
Ratings?
Yes, ratings. I'm going to give Pocahontas a 6.
Okay, I don't know Pocahontas. See, I admire what they're trying to do, but I just don't think they did it well. And while there are bits I like the song Savages, I think that's done cleverly. I like the raccoon, but I think there needed to be more of that.
You would have preferred it if John Candy was in it, wouldn't you?
Mate, I don't know. It needed something. 4.
Oh, wow.
Don't do it for me.
Ooh.
Again, it's just... I think at least it doesn't feel out of place in the Renaissance period like Rescuers Down Under does.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But it feels like a Renaissance film. I just swing and a miss.
That's fair. And with that, we are off. Have a magical rest of your day.
Bonk.
I've got a 10.